We needed to find situations where Nathan could give Elizabeth what she didn't even know she was needing.
I got emotional. There's like the last 20 minutes of this episode.
When we see Abigail arrive at the end, that is in fact a bit of a flash forward.
The Moses or Tooth.
Yes.
It works so well.
Nathan's mom feels like a card that is just waiting to be played.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart in Motion podcast. I'm thrilled to welcome back to the podcast showrunner Joy Gregory and executive producer David Grae. Thanks so much, guys, for being here. I'm thrilled to be talking about When Calls the Heart with you guys.
Yay!
So are we.
Great to be here, and we're sharing a Brady Bunch square.
I love it. We're going to have so much fun talking about the finale last night, a little bit about just looking back on the season in general. I just know from being out on social media today and checking everything out that there's a lot of Hearties on a high right now. What a great finale. So what's your perception of all of the buzz that's going on right now?
Well, I try not to look too much online. It's a little like looking down when you're on a tightrope. You don't want to think about the possible dizzying fall if everyone were to be unhappy. At the same time, I want to know, of course, what the headlines are. But I did take a peek and saw like, oh, great. People were really felt like we took them along for a ride and they liked where we landed. So that was really gratifying. Did you have any reaction?
I'm gratified that people are gratified. I guess my answer is a little weird. Like, I saw what we did and how production and the cast and everyone, and I knew they'd love it.
Yeah.
I mean, just because when it works, it works.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy that
Right.
people are happy and I hear about it. I don't search out things personally myself online.
Right.
On social media. Yeah.
Well, I did a borderline hokey thing on day one. It was my first day running a show from the very beginning of the season. And, I'm a earnest theater major. So I remember telling the staff, like, this is the most theater major thing we're going to do. But I had everybody close their eyes and try to imagine someone who loves and kind of needs to watch this show, that this show really does something for them. Because I felt like that is our North Star for this whole season. We are doing it for the people who take great pleasure in sharing this show with their friends and their family every Sunday. So, that's who we started the whole journey for us, and it was really important to us to see that people appreciated what we built for them.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic to watch all of the response. So I'm curious, digging right in. We start out the episode with LJ still a little bit bothered about, the fact that he can't go to Parsons Peak. On the end of the episode, we've got Elizabeth and Nathan standing on top of the water tower. And so I'm curious, how did you bring those two together? Which idea came first? Because it was such a fantastic idea to get LJ up on that water tower to have his moment. And then at the same time, we get the proposal that we've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, well, this is one of those like the cart came before the horse. Like you had to buy the cart first, and then the horse came. A couple of people, maybe mostly Aaron, pitched the idea of what about a proposal on the water tower? So then it was our job. I mean, this is my favorite part of the job, and it's kind of the whole point of the job is like it's like being given 5 ingredients and told to like make something really delicious out of these random ingredients. So we were told write something where the logical finale is this glorious moment on a water tower. So we then built LJ wants something that he can't have, and creating this climb for him is the perfect answer for what his health limitations make unattainable for him.
There's a great Edify put out a great after show that really dug into the behind the scenes of actually making it happen, because there were a ton of obstacles to actually getting the three of them up on that water tower. In your mind, what was like the biggest obstacle to overcome to make this happen?
It was people started to worry, even the people who had suggested it were suddenly like, oh, I don't want to be responsible for this thing that doesn't look good. There was weather worry, there was time of year worry. It's not going to be the grand vista that you want. And I would say it was all of us second guessing it. And then
Yeah.
we pushed through.
And it took a lot of resources. I mean,
Yeah.
it took up a lot of production
Oh,
time,
yes.
and you only have so much. It's always anything you do is at the expense of something else.
Yep.
And so Joy really stood firm. I mean, I wanted her to, I thought it'd be worth it. And something else just to sort of let you in on how like the sausage is made, like how,
Hmm.
like there was some concern. I think we talked about it internally and maybe there's some externally as well about, well, if LJ goes up on the water tower, does that take away
Yeah.
from it? We've already seen someone up there, so is it going to be as big a
I
deal?
forgot about
And
that.
no,
That's
and
right.
then we said no. You have to, at the end of the day, you have to trust your
Yeah.
gut and we've been doing this a long time, with this show, with other shows, and just say no. It's going to build
It's
to
going to
it. It's
add.
going to feel,
Yeah.
and it sounds like from your question that people felt that. So yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into it.
You're reminding me also that there were other examples this season where I feared that we were just repeating something, but I hoped that it would feel like we were building on it. For instance, the season premiere is Nathan does the impossible and gets an airplane to bring an inspector so that they can remain in Hope Valley. And was it going to feel a little repeaty of like Nathan once again does like something that involves heights and makes the impossible sort of happen? But no, that it built in a beautiful way. Another one was Henry goes to Christopher and makes an appeal to come back and confess his part in the cover up of the cause of the fire, and he does. And then later in the season, he makes an appeal to him on the radio, and it's a little bit similar, but it all worked. Yeah, you gotta trust your gut.
So there have been several moments, and you talked about this. There have been several moments this season between Nathan and Elizabeth where it sparked something. Just their conversations have sparked these sort of like impossible moments that Nathan could kind of step in and be the hero for Elizabeth and LJ. We've got, Cape Fullerton, where you said he's got the airplane that's coming in. We've got the memory hunt. In this moment, we've now made a way for LJ to actually have his Parsons Peak moment. So, was it a deliberate choice to make sure that Nathan is going to actually be that person that can give her those dreams and those impossible opportunities that she's not had before?
Yeah, absolutely. Love in
Yeah.
action. Yeah, we needed to find situations where Nathan could give Elizabeth what she didn't even know she was needing.
Yeah, and that's part of the courtship. That's because, like he says so beautifully. I mean, they're a family. They're
Right.
becoming a family,
Exactly.
and it's part of the co-parenting.
Hmm.
It's him taking on the role of a father figure
Hmm.
for this kid. That I think I like how we've told that story this season
Yeah.
with those various points and with him going to Jack's grave, going to Charlotte and getting her blessing. I mean, it's all part of bringing them together, the
Yep.
four of them as a family.
Yep. Yeah, that was very much the goal of the season.
There's a really great moment when Nathan gets the idea to take LJ to the water tower, and you can see clearly there's some apprehension on Elizabeth's part, but it's an opportunity for him for her to decide, I trust you, and I'm going to put my son in your hands and have this moment. Can you talk about crafting that moment between the two of them?
Yeah, I was a little worried when I saw in dailies that she looked so worried because, we had gone back and forth. I remember at one point I wrote it very explicitly that he said, I've been up and down 10 times. I think that's still in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And it is 100% safe. But they dared to play it of like, she still got concerns. But I thought that was great because, you know, it showed that he was able to talk her into something that she wouldn't have been able to pull off by herself, which is letting her son take this risk.
Right, but he knows 100% it's safe, and she allows LJ to do it, so she knows it. So ultimately, it's not just a gift to LJ, of course it is, but it's even more of a gift to Elizabeth
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Nathan that she could give her son, this experience and
Right.
ultimately becoming his son too.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah,
And it was fantastic that Bill was kind of that one less catalyst to remind Nathan, Nathan, you bring something to the table that she doesn't even know she needs. And it's almost like that sparked that idea for him also to
That
go
was
make this happen.
Yeah, that was the hope. I thought it was so great to use that for a little promo moment too, because it was a cool hook. Like what's he gonna come up with?
Uh-huh. We've got a great, I just love the fact that Nathan's kind of loosened up a little bit. He's a little bit more lighthearted. It pairs so well with Allie. We'd love to see Kevin and Jay to kind of be able to tap into their comedic side. So we have this moment before we get to the big proposal where she steps in to ask, how's it going, and Operation Forever. And he corrects her with Operation Always. And I love the line where even he says, I think they heard you all the way to the saloon. Can you talk about, did you guys write that in the script? That watching the way that they delivered it was classic, so good. And we got a little bit of a callback with the word always, too.
Right, right. I mean, I'm delighted that by this question because it was all scripted, but they made it seem like it wasn't, and that's the whole trick of it. But yes, we scripted both of those moments, and but Jada and Nathan's Allie and Nathan's vibe together this season was such a joy to explore and expand on.
yeah, and you picked up on like that was a moment that required calibration.
That's right.
Like Jada in her performance, if she was too loud, it would have just played broad or weird.
Exactly.
It was
Yeah.
just a little bit loud, and
Hmm.
she was just being excited. It wasn't, yeah, but he who's so
Mr.
careful,
Discreet.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, and his delivery was
I
chef's
know.
kiss right
Yes.
on the butt,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Kristen Lehman always knows like she gets the right
Just the
size
way,
of
just
everything.
the
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we potentially have another callback when Elizabeth is just kind of overlooking the Harvest Festival and everything just feels right. And she makes that comment to Nathan. And then he asks her to take a walk with him. Was that a callback to a walk that she's been asked to take in the past?
Not consciously, but I think that is just in the air that we breathe on the
Yeah.
show. It
Yeah.
couldn't help but refer back to that.
Right. And there's Erin in the
Yes, of
scene. And
course.
so she's bringing that, her energy, we're seeing the look on her face.
Yeah.
So for her, maybe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we didn't think it through consciously.
Yeah.
We all, you wonder sometimes, and then sometimes I think it's just kind of like a part of who we are as Hardys at these moments just kind of naturally pop up, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we usually have Allie Devereaux to point out, like, well, this is a reference to season 5, episode 7. But I don't think we knew we were necessarily quoting that famous moment.
Right.
When they get interrupted one last time at the water tower, Nathan is in the middle of saying, we can basically take on anything, get around anything, the two of us. So then
Mhm.
later, when we know Elizabeth has picked up on the fact that he's got a plan, and now she realizes this moment is going to happen again. She sees the tower. She makes the decision, we're going to the tower. Was this Elizabeth's? Was she done with interruptions? Was she like, we're going up there because we are not going to be interrupted anymore?
I love that interpretation.
Yeah.
Let's say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe, or maybe she wanted to be able to see what her son saw so
Yeah.
she could talk to him about it, or revel in his experience by
Yes.
experiencing it herself. And so she wasn't necessarily, or maybe she knew he was thinking of doing, she felt it in the air and
Yeah.
she wanted
Yeah.
to be up in the air when it
Something in them
happened.
was kind of reaching for the eternal.
Yeah. It's almost like she was just like, if we're doing this big, and she's already feeling that you and I can do this impossible. We're going up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So having Nathan and Elizabeth up there on that water tower, does that symbolize something for the two of them being up on that tower overlooking Hope Valley?
Yeah, I talked about this elsewhere, but it's a Hallmark show. This is a long in the waiting proposal. There are, certain tropes to these proposal scenes across all television shows, and we really wanted to find something that was less general, less familiar, and more specific to Elizabeth and Nathan. And, I loved Aaron's idea of the water tower. First of all, Elizabeth and Nathan are, of course, the iconic pairing of the show for many seasons now. The water tower is an iconic landmark in Hope Valley, so it's the meeting of these two for this big moment. But also, there's a modesty to it. It's private.
Yes.
It's enclosed in some way. It's not a big grand gesture, and yet it includes the land and the beloved valley that is part of who they are. So it really felt like it reflected who they are as a couple in a way that I loved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was special. And the
Hmm.
fact that it was Nathan created this way of getting up there, and that he had shared with LJ,
Yeah.
and so something special about
Yeah, yeah, and something that had nothing to do with Jack. So
it. Yeah.
they could start their own chapter.
Well, and we want to thank you for the callback to always being afraid to do or always doing what you're
Yeah.
afraid to do. We got the Emerson callback, so that was really nice to see.
Oh, yes, yes, we had that very much in mind. That one was conscious.
Okay, so let's talk about crafting those words because we get some really powerful words from Elizabeth up on the water tower when she's overlooking the valley and she's talking about, their spring and their summer and all of their days to come. And then we get a powerful moment from Nathan where he just is just basking in that moment of knowing that everything that Elizabeth reflects back and what it does for people and what it does for the community. So, can you guys talk about kind of building that moment for them?
Oh man, that was just one of those moments like you give yourself an assignment in an outline, and then Nathan proposes, and then there I am at 10 p.m. going like, all right, here we go. I just I wanted it to feel like a very grounded, connected with things we've seen on screen. You have to ask yourself, what do we see Elizabeth do for all of these people? How can we make it feel not a general, non-specific pledge of love, but specific to what he has seen of her on screen? And then I also just like picked out phrases that stuck with me from moments of in my life. The line about silver, someone said that about a beloved member of the Chicago theater community who died much too young. And someone in the community said Larry was like silver. He reflected you back, but better. And that just, these are the things you just collect in life and then
As
find
a
a moment
writer.
as a
Yeah,
writer.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, look, Joy wrote that speech, and I just think it was the right moment to reach for something lyrical. And it's funny, we were talking about it, and I said, when I proposed to my wife, 27 years ago, I reached for the lyrical. And so and we hadn't talked about it before you did that, but I
Mhm.
think at some moments, maybe don't demand it, but can stand it. And I
Mhm.
thought it was beautiful. And I could say that I did not write it, so I'm not complimenting myself as a fan of what Joy wrote.
Thank you.
Can you separate out any part of that that just really stands out to you, or does it really just require all of it that came together to have that moment?
I mean, my favorite line is I can see winter coming and spring and summer and all of our days stretched out like a map. I think for me, that was a moment of, I don't know if this is a little purple, but I just love that they're touching the eternal. That they're, yeah, I'll stop there.
And then, standing on the water tower, I think is emblematic of it's, this is the tippy top, this is the cherry on top, put it in a banal way, but of all the years, the seasons when we weren't here writing the show and other writers were
Yeah.
creating this relationship
Hmm.
between Nathan and Elizabeth,
That's lovely.
that's now reached this point.
Pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a great, we cap it off with a beautiful scene in the field with the four of them all together, Allie and Elizabeth together, looking at the ring, LJ and Nathan. Can you talk about, bringing them all together after the proposal and that decision?
Yeah, I was so that was one of those examples of like you don't need much on screen to give people what they're hungry for. And it just seemed I as a viewer and a lover of the show, when I saw it cut together, I was like, that is such a high value little 5 seconds of screen time.
Absolutely. But when because obviously there was an argument to just go out on the water tower off the
Right.
season. But when we talked more about it, I was like, no, we want to see, we glimpse the other people reveling in it, the family reveling in it,
Right.
and that core four, that group.
Yeah.
And just Jada looking at the ring,
Yeah.
just that was it. We know. So now we know LJ knows, and we know, and he's
Yeah.
happily with Nathan, and with that knowledge that they're engaged, they're going to get married. It felt required,
Yeah.
or it's sort of like you said, it's like what the viewers would want it, and I
Hmm.
think it delivered right on the
Yeah.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a perfect choice for the ring. The
Isn't
way
that
that,
lovely? Yes, our wardrobe or props, jewelry is props. I always forget
Yes.
those got
Yeah.
separated somewhat arbitrarily into different departments ages decades ago. But our props person just went on Etsy and found that, and it's really beautiful, isn't it? And
yeah,
I can't remember who pitched the idea of 4 stones, one for each of us, but I love that too.
Yes.
that's amazing. Okay, we'll come back to them in a little bit. We had another powerful moment between Gwen and Rosemary and Lee in this episode. I've seen this episode 4 times. I have cried 4 times.
Me too. Yeah.
Watching, goodness sakes, what an amazing wrap up to their story. And so we begin in this episode with Gwen and Rosemary kind of having their moment where Gwen decides to put on the scratchy dress, and it gives them a moment to kind of connect in a way that they hadn't got to connect this season at all. So, can you talk about deciding that it was important for those two to have that moment and kind of show the growth that they've had throughout the season?
Oh, yes. I mean, I loved that Lee was the one to name it. That all this time we've been thinking she's bonding more easily with me, and it's because, she and Rosemary are too similar and too strong. But no, you're the one she really wanted. That was a payoff we hadn't really been consciously
Hmm.
building to, but boy, when we got there, it was like, yeah, I buy it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
buying what I'm selling.
We've been hiding the ball and we didn't know it. Yeah. It was so well hidden. Yeah.
But my favorite thing of the start, I remember, I think it was Max, but I can't quite remember who pitched the idea that Gwen would go back to that dress.
Mhm.
And that dress is not her. And Rosemary started the season wanting Gwen to be something she wasn't. And I loved that we showed Rosemary's growth in just the way Pascal played, like, oh, the dress. Well, that just on her face, unspoken, was, you don't have to wear the dress. I'm okay if you don't wear the dress, but I will celebrate and support the dress if you want to wear the dress.
Mhm.
And I just felt like we were modeling in that whole storyline when she comes home and she's muddied it and ripped it, and Rosemary's kind to her about it, that there's a way to support a non-traditional child in whatever way that expresses
Mhm.
itself. And Pascal just made Rosemary this beautiful mother who was like, I will meet you where you are and support you and love you. And I love seeing that.
It also gives us a little bit of a glimpse of what's to come with Goldie, even in
Yeah.
that dynamic. So, but
Yeah.
what an amazing story to have them with Gwen this season. Came out of nowhere, and my goodness, what an amazing story.
I know it
That's,
really paid off in
yeah.
dividends. Yeah. Well, thanks in large part to casting Alex
Yeah.
McIsaac,
Oh,
who
yeah.
purely magic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was really the one. I mean, yes, we had Rupert and his mom to some extent, that's a
Yeah.
couple of the other kids, but the Gwen story was the only real full-throated story that we're
Right.
able to do of what the devastation of the fire had wrought, and just in a very specific way on this character, this little family, and her
Right.
dad in the hospital. So yeah.
Yeah.
That ending moment where they are saying goodbye, which was so nice that even the words are like, that Lee finishes it with "see you soon." So there's just this, glimmer of hope that whether we get to see Gwen back in Hope Valley or not, that they're going to stay connected. Um,
Exactly.
Crying in that moment as well. What an amazing moment between the three of them. What was your reaction when you saw the final cut of that moment?
I mean, I immediately just texted Pascal to say, "Oh my God, like this is just one of my favorite moments of yours on screen." And she has said this many times, but she immediately replied like, "It's that kid, it's Alex." You can't not give your absolute heart and in total authenticity when you're on screen with her, on camera with her. I was very, very moved. Um, we wrote it and it was like a sweet little gift scene. She's got a sweet little thing, like the
Yeah.
Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz. And it hit so much harder than I was expecting. The acting was so beautiful. I was very, very moved.
And I think they all gave each other something. Like, they say the greatest gift one actor could give another is to hit him over the head, to give him something to
Yeah.
react to.
Right.
And they all, I think for all three actors, and that this was something special, the three
Yeah.
of them working together
Absolutely.
this season, that goodbye, it was one of those goodbyes, like, the last episode of Friends or Cheers or,
Yeah.
some iconic TV show where where the actors are also saying goodbye to each other. Like
Yeah.
it was imbued with some real affection between these
That
actors
was
too,
clear. You're
for each
so
other.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, I'm sure Kevin, have you interviewed Kevin? Because he probably told this story if you have.
He was on one of our podcast junkets, but he
Oh,
hasn't been able to talk most recently about the recent episode.
yeah, yeah. Well, he told me a story a few nights ago about how incredible Alex is, that she had done her first take of the gift goodbye scene and it was beautiful, but her hat had fallen down and there was a shadow on her eyes and the DP said, "Can we do it again?" And she was doing it again with just as much heart. And Kevin could see her hat was slipping down again. So he was off screen and he knows his hand will be hidden and he just does this. And he said this professional young actor stayed totally in the moment, but just made it part of the moment to pull her hat back. So it's like she's got it all. She's totally present and she can be think technically at the same time.
Well, she and I are visiting tomorrow, so I will
Oh,
definitely have to
great.
ask about that moment.
Yes.
But I'm with you. That moment felt very much like pretend and reality becoming very blurred, and that the
Yeah.
way it was just you could just tell that it was a little bit of them and a little bit of Rosemary
Yes.
and Lee and Gwen. So it's
Hmm.
it's going to be we see Rosemary, we see Lee and the way that they interact with each other, and they're so good at doing the funny and doing the serious. But this was one of those moments for Kevin and Pascal that I was just like moved, like, wow, talk about talent. And of course, Alex, but my goodness, whole new
Yeah.
level.
Yes. Going on the show reel.
Yeah. No, and,
Actor show
and
reel.
and they did it effortlessly, though. They didn't push for it. They
Exactly.
they they underplayed it in the best way,
Yep.
in a great acting way.
Yep. Yeah. It
Um,
made it so much all the more
it
moving.
it was real,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so let's talk Lucas and Edie. We've
Yay.
got Lucas has decided he's going to be part of the magic show at the Harvest Festival. We get a nice little callback to where, past seasons, Lucas has had, a little bit of the magic going on. This time we've got a little bit of a different tone. So, can you talk about the decision to put him in this moment to reveal that he's not going to be governor anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it was just irresistible to go back to his. Well, first of all, we found his magic trick episode 2.
Right.
It was just like, what's a lighthearted thing we can do in this very heavy episode? And it was just an idea we came up with to have Lucas do a magic show. But then, as often happens, it's the fun of TV writing is like, well, we did this thing out of kind of necessity, and it was a piece we could use. Let's make it pay off. So I loved it as an example of Lucas both reconnecting with a past self to liberate himself from a present that has been a struggle and has kind of held him back. But he's also doing it in a new way. There's a new kind of depth and maturity in and self-awareness. He's really grown this season. Like he finally I think I would argue he did a final phase of reckoning with the fallout of the loss of Elizabeth and the engagement not moving forward and kind of coming to a mature acceptance of she wasn't the right person for me, and here's someone who is, and I'm going to move towards something more authentic.
And the magic itself is, I mean, he's pulling off a trick, but it's emblematic of what he's doing in his life. He's the governor, and then poof,
Yeah,
he's gone. He
yeah.
needed to, you know, disappear,
Reinvent. Yeah,
reinvent and
yeah,
disappear and reinvent himself. And we find him playing the piano,
yeah,
just different
yeah,
color.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that piano moment because, first of all, nobody had any idea that Lucas could play the piano, which was fun to see, but it really created a fun dynamic for Edie to kind of step in. She's seen him, do the magic tricks now, hint at his heart being mended, and it's kind of like an open door for her to go ahead and admit, maybe I shouldn't have ran away. It's a good opportunity for the two of them to kind of come together and meet each other.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I love that scene. I loved how Edie took the first move to finally close this distance between them, and but the way Miranda played it was so beautiful and heartfelt and authentic feeling. Um, God, I love so many moments. I was on set that day, and I love that Kristen, who's a wonderful actor, also. One thing she said is just eat the pie. Don't forget about trying to not eat the pie or make sure you've perfectly swallowed before you have to speak. Talk around the pie in your mouth like normal people would. And then I loved Miranda finding that moment of like, oh my God, you say this to me now. Like she was just so like we had burned such a long fuse to get them there. Um, they just, those actors like each other and you can feel it in I can't wait to write more of them as a
Yeah.
couple and explore them some more.
But what a payoff for us that, there's this obstacle of she's getting ready to leave and he's like, I don't care. I'll go with you.
Yes, I know. I know. That was a good save on our part. But they'll be back. Don't worry. We're definitely
So
going to bring them
they're
back.
going for 2 months. I mean, have you guys thought about already like where we're picking up when season 14 happens? I mean, are they going to be gone? Are they going to be back? Have you guys thought about that yet?
We have thought about that, and it was our intention, whether it's clear yet or not, that when we see Abigail arrive at the end, that is in fact a bit of a flash forward. So
Mhm.
we'll pick up from that moment, and it's going to be about 2 months later, and Edie and Lucas will be back very soon.
Okay, so Abigail's arrival is not in that moment. It's a little bit later.
Yes, yes. We didn't quite pull off giving enough clues in the greenery that we could show in October in
Yeah.
Vancouver
Yeah.
to make you think it was spring. We were hoping that Elizabeth's voiceover about spring was kind of enough of a hint, but I'm here to tell you more explicitly. That is the intention.
Were you guys just on the edge of your seat, keeping that secret quiet that Abigail was going to show back up in Hope Valley?
Yeah, but at the same time, Hallmark let the cat out of the bag on,
Right.
quite intentionally and announced it. So that was a relief. Like we
Right.
don't have to worry and, go into like high security measures.
It when Lori showed up at the Hallmark Christmas experience and they were, announced that she was going to be back for season 14, there was a lot of buzz like, but would it be sooner? What if it was a little bit sooner? So
Ah,
there were several of us kind of wondering if it might happen. So
huh?
what a
Huh?
great surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It played so well. We were so thrilled to see how much depth Lori brought to one
Yes.
line.
Oh, yeah. And just looking around and kind of taking it all in. And we're
Yeah,
just sitting there, she's doing it, and our minds are already going like, what's next for Abigail? What's next for
right.
Abigail? So
Yeah.
I also I got emotional. There's like the last 20 minutes of this episode. I was just, and again, it's so funny when you're involved in something and figure out the story and everything, and you still when you're watching it, but even that I think part of the reason I got emotional about it is yes, I mean Lori was wonderful and really brought so much to it, but it also was, I think, for the fans of this show that that this character Abigail is back.
Yeah.
Lori Loughlin is back.
Yeah.
Like it's just emotional, even in
Yeah.
it had multiple levels
Hmm.
of being emotionally powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, my brain immediately, in an emotional way, not a logistical way, my emotions started dreaming about what could be next, not only for for Lori as Abigail, but for Hope Valley. And I
Hmm.
think that's exciting to be thinking about. How do you guys, when you think about Abigail being back in Hope Valley, what are those things that immediately come to mind that need to happen with her? Have you thought of anything this has got to happen?
Well, picking up her dear friendship with Elizabeth,
Yeah.
and I feel I want to see Elizabeth and Rosemary and Abigail all kind of as a trio, a sisterhood. I'm excited to see that. We feel that there are some romantic threads to explore.
Maybe. I
I
mean,
love I love that we heard it, Lori talking the other night when they did the press in LA that her and Martin had kind of just decided on their own that there was going to be a little bit of something kind of playing underneath. And
Yeah.
so it actually came up in Kansas City as well that there are many eager fans ready to see what might possibly happen between Abigail and Henry. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's on our radar too.
Nice. Well, we're excited for that. So, speaking of romance, we love that Angela is back because she's the person that picks up on that there is something there going on between Allie and Oliver. Loved that best friend moment happened between Allie and Angela. So, thanks for bringing that moment back to see the two of them where are we going with Allie and Oliver when you guys are thinking about season 14? Because it was great to hear that admittance of, yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I loved ending during the final montage of Allie looking at Oliver and going, "Uh-oh, I have feelings here." At the same time, I think it's fair to summarize that what we love most about Allie and Oliver is that they're truly growing a deep friendship.
They are, yeah.
Uh, um, and yes, there are romantic feelings entering the chat, but we're bearing in mind that they're still quite young, and we definitely want to continue to deepen and perhaps test, but definitely deepen their
yeah.
friendship.
And they're like I just think the Mosasaur tooth, it
Yes.
worked so well, the
Yes.
fossils, because it it's a shared interest, or maybe it's not a shared interest, but I want to be interested, and it is the way you talk about it is interesting to me. I mean, that's
Yeah.
exactly to me what innocent courtship
Yes.
flirtation is about.
Yeah.
And so that very specifically it's exciting to see, and they play it. They're so great
I
together.
know, and
Yeah.
it was both like light and sweet, but at the same time there was this poetic dimension of like this all used to be underwater, and we're starting to not quite exist in the world that we're in.
Right, right.
It's just romantic.
Totally.
You mentioned that it kind of reminds me of Nathan liking lemon curd, where it's like, I like lemon curd because it's yours.
Yes, same thing. Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the courtship, the performance of courtship.
Cinematically, one of my favorite moments of the episode is the kids and them sending those messages into the air. It was such a nice wrap up to everything that those moments with the students brought this season. I mean, I felt like we were living this story through them of,
Mm.
coming out of the ashes and change and what birth can come out of it visually, seeing the Benson Hills kids give their moments, hearing Allie talk about it. What really stood out to you in that moment? Because I mean, I saw those balloons go up and I go, this scene feels like the combination of everybody's best gifts coming together. What was written, what was directed, what was acted, all of it in that moment.
Oh, I love hearing that because
Yeah.
man, we went through so many ideas of what that could be.
Yes.
Yes, I at one point it was going to be we're floating like paper lanterns with candles onto
Right.
the pond, except oh, we can't shoot at night.
Right.
So it's got to be something during the day. And then I was still trying to cling to the paper lanterns, and Kristen was like, it's not going to work during the day.
Right. Right.
So the balloons were, it all feels like a chaotic compromise. And then when it airs, it's
Yes.
just glorious.
And it was shot beautiful.
It
And
really
the shot
was.
from right underneath them,
Yeah.
and then from wide on the lake, and yeah, that catharsis for the kids and the beautiful lesson from Elizabeth to
Yeah.
write down and then let it go. It's everything, the lesson of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letting
Letting-
go,
Yeah.
moving. Yeah.
So good.
I feel compelled to say I did see a few comments online cautioning us about the environmental impact of releasing balloons in the air, and we faked it. They only stopped about halfway up, and then we special effects them up into the atmosphere. So we didn't do it. It's
Erin
fun.
did a fantastic job, Erin Krakow, on her Instagram account of really laying that out of what went
Oh,
into that.
cool.
And also the after show as well. They talked about how committed they were to making sure that that was done properly.
Oh, I
So
love that.
it was,
That's great.
yeah, it was covered very well on both the after show and her post. So way
Great.
to go.
Yes, you have
Okay.
the poetry without the impact.
Looking back on the season, can you finish this line? I'm so glad we did what?
Oh, we thought about a few of these. Yes, I'm so glad we managed to give so many of our townspeople a good, nutritious moment on screen. That was important to me, and I think we achieved that for a lot of our characters. I am so glad we managed to keep everyone engaged while waiting so long for this engagement. I was a little worried that I was going to start losing people. There was a lot of impatience. I'm so glad we got to grow LJ a little bit. I am so glad we got to put Faith in the movie. When I got a still photo of Faith in that look, I was just like, oh, this is my favorite thing that we've done for this character in a while. Did you have any others?
Yeah, I'm so glad we got to, I think, give just about everyone a comedic moment.
That's true.
It,
Yes.
and because yeah, these actors have a lot of range, and our directors could do it all, and the comedy's important,
Yes.
and we were able to do it in the context of some very dramatic and emotional, heavy stories,
Hmm.
especially at the beginning when the specter of, oh boy, did Cooper and Toby cause this fire? But we managed to find the light in the dark,
Yes.
and do what, not to be lofty and pat ourselves on the back too much, but it's good drama also has comedy. It's what
Yeah,
makes you fall in love with the characters, what humanizes the
that's
characters.
right.
So
Yeah.
Biggest celebrations for you creatively this season?
Oh, how many stories we managed to find to spin off of this fire.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, it's one of those moments. Sometimes when I write things, this happens less with script writing because I've done so much of it, but sometimes I've written critical essays or something that's kind of a bit of a reach for me. And when I'm no longer in it, I look back and go like, I can't believe I wrote that. And now I'm getting a little bit of that, like, oh man, I kind of we built a lot of connected stories. Are we going to be able to pull that off again? I always get a little intimidated about can I reach the bar I set for myself? But that is something I'm celebrating creatively, that we spun the fire into so many characters that and stories that connected.
yeah, it was a powerful story engine.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was fruitful. I am celebrating that we found ways for oh yeah, that we found ways for Elizabeth and Nathan to work together in the aftermath of the fire. That we really
Yeah.
found organic ways, and it was work. Like we were like, what can Elizabeth uniquely bring to this fire investigation that feels real, that
Right.
isn't like an unrealistic thing? So we did find some good
Yeah.
stuff.
And there's, sometimes like we just because of the success in the past with Pascal, with Rosemary being part of the investigations,
Yeah.
we wanted to find something for her to do. And the drip test
Yeah.
was so delightful. But also, when you try to just set out, when you give yourself an assignment like that, how could we involve her? And we ended up coming up with a delightful story in an episode that brought her into contact with the investigation and in a fun story with Georgie and Nathan and Bill.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And the Coulters evolving as parents.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to echo what had said, I also put on my list of things to celebrate, pulling off fun in the midst of it all, the polygraph mishap, a lemon curd running joke, Jamboree, the movie, like in the midst of this other heavy stuff, and bringing Christopher back
Yeah.
and giving Henry such a nice parenting journey that really I thought paid off nice dividends for Henry Gowan. We got to know him in a new way, and that's
So amazing.
an accomplishment in season 13.
Sure.
Like we got to know this guy in a new way.
And another one, and that's always the challenge is how do you expand characters in season 13?
Right.
How do you learn more? That's still believable.
Yeah.
And I think with the Canfields,
Mhm.
and we took the pain of what they went through with Cooper and the possibility and him having to deal with, oh my God, did I start this fire?
Yeah.
But what that did to Minnie in realizing, I don't want to feel vulnerable financially. And she already had in her this entrepreneurial side, and running the cafe and then the jam business, which we played for fun at first, but then we were able to bring to that really special moment of that scene with the four of them, with the whole family, with Angela, and in front of the cafe, that they all were acted beautifully, and Kristen captured beautifully, and then the photograph, which was right on the money, of the four. So but building out specifically her character and that family was, I think, a big success creatively.
Yeah.
Was there a storyline or a creative choice this season that felt like a real risk?
I worried about keeping Lucas and Edie apart as long as we did. Like, and at one, it was kind of like a late idea. Well, what if we just have her leave town? Let's just have her take a job out of town. And then I was worried, oh no, now we're trying to have them court each other over the phone. What have we done? And then they were so good. I loved the telephone scenes. The longing was so heightened because they were on the phone, and it's hard to act on the phone. I think they did the voice for each other off screen because they're such generous actors, but you don't have to. You could just have some crew member reading the lines for you, and that played better despite my anxieties.
Right. And there was the polygraph story where once the idea came up of Nathan being asked on the polygraph, are you going to marry? And it came from LJ.
Yes.
That it was too irresistible not to do.
Yes.
But then once you do it, how do you get out of it?
Yes.
Without a proposal.
Yeah. That was tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and it was very delicate, and we did lots of drafts and thinking through, and could we do the scene with Elizabeth and Rosemary? Would she have any doubt creeping in? And we wanted, so we did it, but we had to calibrate it just so. And then that last scene where Nathan comes to her and says, just trust me and feel my heart. And again, it had to be calibrated just so. And so that was a little risky.
Yeah, it was a tightrope walk for sure.
But I think people went with it and satisfied, and then we continued forward from there. Yeah.
For sure. So much to celebrate this season, but looking back, is there anything that you would adjust or approach differently?
Let me think about this. I mean, we always have more ideas than we have screen time.
Yeah.
Especially with this cast to serve. Like, I wish I had been able to give even more people more storylines. We had so many that, in fact, I have a bank of stories to just bring in on day one to let's try again and get this piggy bank story in there. Right. That's all I'll say about it. You'll know it if you see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
No, it's hard to say, "Oh, I wish we didn't do this." Because and I mean, I think the fact is we are genuinely satisfied with what
Yeah.
and what's on screen isn't everything that was shot.
Right.
But but the actors delivered, the directors delivered, production,
Hmm.
executive, everyone. It's a gigantic team effort and post production and it all fits. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard. I can't say
Hmm.
there's anything I want to get. You always want to do more, though. Like I
Yes.
said, we wish we
So
could have
true.
done more, but we're
Yeah.
limited by the amount of screen time
Yeah.
we have.
42
And
minutes.
that's the
I
job.
know.
Yeah.
I know, man. Whew, the page limit on the scripts is brutal. Sometimes it's just like cutting everything down, down, down.
Yeah.
But it is nice when you have those things that maybe they have to be put on hold that you're like, but we can save that for later. Like
Yes.
we can hold on to that and it might show up later. So
Yeah, and sometimes like Hallmark, I'm thinking of Fishing Hole, where we had it in and Hallmark said, we love this so much that we don't want to do it in a small way. We would like you to do that in a bigger way.
yeah. Yeah.
And to be totally honest and candid, um, yes, there are some scenes you could hold on to and do later, and there are some you can't.
Yeah, that's right.
And they sting a little bit
Yeah.
because we had but because they just fit into a certain story that once it's passed, you can't go
That's
back.
right.
But
Yeah, the window
but again,
closes.
that you have to make those tough creative choices. That's the job.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So as you look ahead, are there characters that we haven't met yet that you're excited to introduce? I mean, I'm thinking of we're going to have a wedding at some point. We haven't met Nathan's mom. Is there potential that maybe that's on somebody's radar? And then also, we had some amazing characters this season. We had Christopher, Fernando, Gwen, Maisie, or even the kids from Benson Hills that you're already thinking about maybe bringing them back.
Yeah, that I'm committed to several of those. Yeah, definitely want to see if we can bring Gwen back for visits and keep her connected to our world. I loved all those Benson Hills
Yeah.
kids, and honestly, we lost quite a few who graduated from Hope Valley, and we need littles. So I'd love to bring many of them back as we can afford. Nathan's mom feels like a card that is just waiting to be played. I mean,
Totally.
and that's a whole like lobe of possible storytelling we could open up. Um, and I mean, I'm getting a lot of requests for Fernando, so those will be heeded and considered.
Yeah.
Christopher, I don't know, maybe Christopher's story has played out, but we'll certainly keep him alive in the life that we talk about on
Well, that
screen.
relationship, he and Martin are so great together.
Yeah, they
Those
really
actors
are.
are so great
Yeah,
together. They're wonderful, and he's so great. So if something were to come up, we'd
absolutely.
have to have a compelling reason, a good
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the season ends in the fall, and we have a great spring coming. You said, Joy, the last time that you and I visited, there is a grand and wonderful spring to come, and we will not withhold it from you. Tell
Hmm.
us more.
Let me see. Well, season 14, like I said, will pick up with Abigail's arrival in the early spring. And I'll keep you in suspense, but I will just say that there's a famous quote from Aristotle about the climax of any story to be a successful climax must be both surprising and inevitable. And we will build things for you that will be both surprising and inevitable. And you're going to love it.
We're going to love it. It's going to
Yeah.
be great. We've
I
got a
can't wait.
ring on a finger. We have a ring on a finger finally,
Yes.
so
Oh, yes.
we can just dream a little bit about that, right?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely going to be part of the spine of the story of the season coming up. Yes.
I
We're-
joked with Allie when I had her on. I had a great interview with Jennifer Wigmore. I don't know if you know her or not, but I said, listen, I'm going to pitch Jennifer Wigmore all I can for Nathan's mom because it's such a funny
Oh,
story. When I had her on
yeah.
to talk about, some of the Hallmark projects that she was doing, I had mentioned Kevin, and she goes, I was his first acting coach. And I said,
Oh,
what? And I had literally posted a reel and said, this is why Jennifer Wigmore needs to be Nathan Grant's mom.
I love
And
your
Allie goes, you've
campaign.
got to tell Joy. And of course, Jennifer Wigmore's in. She's like, put me in, coach. But it's just the craziest story. And I thought that is definitely on everybody's radar is it's like we feel like we need to meet Nathan's mom next. So
Sounds surprising and inevitable.
well, I just want to thank both of you so much for a fantastic season. It was so delightful. I mean, it's sad in a way, bittersweet because now we've got, a good another 9 months before we're to season 14. But congratulations to you guys on a fantastic season. The season finale last night, so much excitement after so many of the stories last night. And wishing you guys all the best as you go back to the writer's room and start dreaming the impossible, as Nathan and Elizabeth would say. So,
Well, we'll be holding you all as our North Star again as we start another journey. Thank you, Stephanie. It has been a pleasure to partner with all of our beloved fans through you, and we look forward to making more.
well, I'm so excited that, we've wrapped up the season, but we've got a few more When Calls the Heart interviews coming your way. So if you guys are following along, be sure that you stay in touch with this podcast because there is more to come talking about season 13. So thanks so much to both of you for joining me.
Thank you.
You
Thanks
bet.
for having us.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.